I think we have a lot of people here respecting their time. Let us start. Let me introduce you to the people here, the key people here. But before that, first of all, thank you so very much for making it today on a Friday afternoon after the lunch. We sincerely appreciate that you have come to talk and understand about Seclore, our partner for today's session. Uh, we have Vishal here. Vishal is the CEO for Seclore. Vishal, I would say if you wave your hand, then people will be able to recognize you. Yes, this is Vishal. Ladies and gentlemen, Vishal is an IIT Bombay alumni, and he has been with Seclore for past 14 years. Right, Vishal?
No, the company itself is only about 9 years old. So 9 years.
Okay. All right, 9 years old. So Vishal has been with Seclore for that long, and he will be leading the discussion. The flow will be that after Vishal's very quick presentation, we will have a panel discussion, and then we will have a case study. And in between, there will be some quiz and some lucky draws to be won. So see you around. Vishal, over to you.
Thanks a lot. And again, thanks a lot, everyone, for spending time here between work and family. We already have more than 24 hours of our time committed. And then to take out time from all of that to spend with us here, we really appreciate. The intention here is to make your time totally worth it, and not to spend too much time on the product and what Seclore does. Hopefully, we can do it more on a one-on-one session following the conversation. But today, the idea here is to draw from the expertise of the panel here, and we'll just before we start the panel discussion, we'll go around the table, let the panel introduce themselves here. I wanted to take the first maybe 5 minutes in just setting up the discussion for the panel before we get started here, right? Just can somebody give me screen sharing rights? The host.
I think you have it. If you click on that green button, share screen, you should be able to.
Yeah, Vivek, I think somebody needs to be.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, just tell me if everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so just to set up the panel discussion a little bit here, what I call one of the most strenuous things that in our experience enterprises are doing is what we call chasing data, right? Data has typically been resident in on-premise enterprise systems like networks and applications and devices which have been in the office, on premises, and so on. And over a period of the last 5-10 years, we've progressively lost control of this IT infrastructure, right? So devices have gone private, right? People are bringing in their own devices, or they're taking devices and working from home or public airport, airports and hotels and so on, right? We've historically had control over the network, and that control is going away, because if you look at even this session that we are doing today, chances are most of us are logging in to this session using our personal home networks, right? And that has represented more than any other time in history in the last 1.5 years. That's represented the kind of the way we work, right? So networks have gone private, devices have gone personal, and the last but not the least is applications. And applications have increasingly moved to the cloud. And the last one is kind of the main topic of our discussion today, which is applications as they have moved to the cloud. And then from the cloud, the applications also become available to external agencies like partners and contractors and so on, right? So if you look at it from the lens of a enterprise security professional, it has been we are all constantly chasing data, right? Because data is now going to a personal device, we need to go and secure the device. Because it's going to a public network, we need to either create a VPN tunnel or secure the network in some other way. And because it is going to a public application, right, the public cloud application, we now need to go back and secure the infrastructure in the cloud. And all of these are not new concepts, right? The kind of security that we are implementing on personal devices those kind of controls have existed on enterprise provided laptops and computers for the last 20 years, right? We are just extending the same set of controls to a personal device or a public cloud application or a public network and so on. And in our experience, this is a never ending chase, right? The data chase is never ending simply because the data is going and will likely go everywhere. Today it might, you may be a 50% user of the cloud, and therefore only 50% of the data is going to the cloud, or you may allow only a limited set of employees to work from home or work from their own personal devices. But we see this as a pattern that chasing the data and securing every place that this data goes to is a never ending problem, right? And what this also does is that as we go around chasing this data, as it goes to different parts of the world, security policies that control this data also become very different, right? So the kind of security policies on the data when it's in an enterprise application versus a cloud application, or a personal device versus a enterprise device, is very different. And to make things worse, we have COVID and the global private data privacy regulations, which are not making any of this easier, right? And really, the panel today will discuss topics around whether this is, number one, an achievable task, right? Securing infrastructure and chasing the data, and discuss an alternative. It is, if we have the time, which is what does the world look like if we are able to embed security controls in the data itself, and then not chase it, right? Then let the data go anywhere. It can go on a public device, public network, public application, even to third parties and so on. And the data with it carries its own security, privacy, and compliance policy, right? So we are drawing the line between infrastructure security, which is devices, application, networks, people, and so on, versus data security in the context of enterprises adopting the cloud, right? That's the context of today's discussion. And no slide deck, at least for me, is done till the time at least I present one slide on the company. So Seclore is a company which has been in the data-centric security space for, like I mentioned, 9 years, 8 years, in business. We have some of the world's largest financial services companies, some of the world's largest manufacturing companies, and government and telecom organizations, again, spread across the world, using our technology to protect their most confidential information, right? That's about all I had in terms of just setting up the panel. And what I'll do here, step one, is stop sharing. Actually, let me just I'm happy to share if any of this sounds interesting. I'm happy to share contact information, but why don't I go around and get the panel to introduce themselves just very quickly. I'm guessing that most of the CIO Club members might well be aware of each other, but let's start with Raman.
Hi friends, myself Raman Pillai. I had IT and information security at Ather. Ather is like a 7-year-old organization, and we are into smart electric vehicle manufacturing. And we are Indian-based startup, fully made in India. And our stack is right from the IoT, machine learning, big data, cloud, whatever the possible technologies present in the world, apart from the crypto and a blockchain, we work on the rest of the remaining technologies. So quite a wide scale of data, and this thing we have to protect. And I will share some of my insight on those things today.
Great. Thanks a lot, Raman. Jatin.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jatin Bhatt. I head the IT for Healthium Medtech. We are a manufacturer of medical devices based out of Bangalore. It's plants in multiple locations. In terms of IT reach, we have a typical manufacturing setup having a model of on-premise and a cloud, a mix of that, loads and loads of applications and interfaces. And it definitely makes it a bit of a challenge to address it from the security standpoint. Obviously, I'm sure Vishal will take us through a few, and my co-panelists, they will also share their thoughts. So happy learning to us and everybody else.
Look forward to that, Jatin. Mayank.
Good afternoon, all. Mayank BEDI. I'm a committee member for CIO Klub Bangalore chapter as well. And I am Assistant Executive Director in Dalmia Bharat Group. It's a conglomerate and traditional manufacturing industry serves into the cement, sugar, refractory. And I'm heading the entire SAP practice as well as new business engagement. And pleasure to be part of this panelist because security is always my favorite topic, just to share my views and learn from peers. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mayank. Naseer.
Hello, everyone. This is Naseer, and I am from Mu Sigma. I head, IT infrastructure operations for Mu Sigma. I also, manage information security for Mu Sigma. Mu Sigma is a pure play data analytical company. We are spread across, but we are the only pure play data analytical company, at least in India. Yeah. Look forward to learn more from this panel.
Thank you. Marcel.
Hi everyone, I'm Marcel and I'm from Rapid Care. Rapid Care is a 22-year-old company and we cater primarily to the US healthcare market. So we offer a wide range of services, and now not only to the US market, we've now entered the Australian healthcare market as well. So the services that we offer are revenue cycle management, billing, coding, medical transcription, medical records review, and IT services as well. So our model of work, based on client requirements, is at least for half the company is where people work from home now due to COVID and offline work. So that's just a brief of Rapid Care.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. Did I miss out anyone? I'm just looking at names on video. Did I miss out anyone here? All right. Let's just start by just level setting, where every enterprise that we work for is in the cloud adoption. Since most of our focus today is going to be on data going outside and more specifically to the cloud. I'd appreciate if all the panel members can, and I'm sure there is a spectrum over here, can talk about where are they in the cloud adoption cycle, right? 0 being nothing to do with the cloud, and 10 being everything is on the cloud, right? Let's start with Mayank.
Yeah, I'll say we are somewhere around 8 on cloud. Our entire mailing solutions on Office 365. In fact, for end user backup, we have requested user put all your data in OneDrive. So we are highly dependent on Microsoft 365. Plus, other than that, there are other various applications like SAS, which is our online and beta, Automation Anywhere, RPA we are working. It's everything. Most of our applications are on cloud. So we are leveraging, or we are enjoying the journey in cloud. That's all I will say. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Naseer.
Yeah, I think our cloud journey has been steady and continual so far. Yeah, and we've seen benefits. As everybody know that you have speed to operate faster, right? Flexibility is there, and I think to me the administrative overheads gets reduced. Right, that is a big point for the IT head. And if I have to, pick up a number, Vishal, you mentioned from 1 to 10 on a scale. I think we are at anything somewhere between 6 to 7 on the scale, right? When we talk about Office 365, I think we are one of the few customers of Microsoft, first few customers of Microsoft who adopted Office 365. I think it was 8 years before, right? We moved all our email, SharePoint, and Skype for Business to Office 365, and we continue to use all workloads of Office 365 so far.
Wow.
And of course, other Other, applications, be it CRM, ERP, again goes on the Microsoft platform. And, your cloud history with respect to storage, backup, goes on the cloud. So, I think we're going to reach to the 10 scale soon. But that's when, you shut your data center and say bye-bye to it.
Yeah, I totally hear you. Marcel, I know you are in a completely regulated industry, but where would you place your cloud journey?
Yeah, ours is a little different because we go department wise, based on client needs. So like
Okay.
some departments, I would say they are at 10. For example, the MRR
Oh,
department or the revenue cycle, because they are entirely application based, which are cloud hosted. So, and at the other end of the spectrum, we have like the transcription, and again another part of the MRR department where it's totally, offline work, where people download PDF, Excel, Word files, and so we are, if you see department wise, we are at both ends of the spectrum.
wow. Okay, that must be a pleasure to manage, I'm sure.
Mind-boggling sometimes.
All right. Yeah, that is your perspective on both the sides of the puzzle will be very interesting. Thanks a lot, Marcel. Jatin?
Yeah, I think I would be at between 7 and 8. And we have quite a few applications, so maybe the legacy application which we have done away with, they still are relevant from the tax purposes, but predominantly today relevant application from the ERP standpoint is SAP. It is on premise for us, though we have plans to go on the cloud. But for these one or two applications that we have on premise, we are pretty much on the cloud. Emailing solution, loads and loads of interfaces we have, those are on the cloud. So, however, I would also look at it from the terms of adoption and understanding of, maybe we can come to it a bit later. But yeah, so I would rate ourselves between 7 and 8 in terms of adoption and putting the applications onto cloud.
And are you also a big M365 user?
Yes, we are in M365.
Got it. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jatin. Raman?
Yep, so we are like 9.5 kind of thing. Just because we're born in cloud startup, and everything started from the cloud itself. For a startup, nothing like a cloud to start with. Okay, so born in cloud, and just like since we have certain designing applications which needs very high bandwidth and processing power, so the bandwidth to send the data to cloud is not sufficient enough for those kind of files. So this is the only one application which we host in the house. Other than everything is on cloud. So for us, the cloud is like life for us. Yes.
Got it. And I'll answer the question for Seclore itself. So our journey has been that we started out totally on premise, going back, I don't know, 8-9 years. And currently we've gone through kind of an up and down journey. So maybe 3 years ago we were completely on the cloud, right? We could literally go and say bye-bye to the internal data center. And about, I want to say, a year ago, we moved some of the workloads that we had on the cloud on premise, right? Because as you might imagine, I mean, this is a software company, and we have a lot of infrastructure requirements, especially for our automated testing infrastructure, right? Because we have thousands of virtual machines running, which are testing out different scenarios in the automated testing environment. So we moved some of the workloads back from the cloud to on-premise, because we did the maths that for consistently used infrastructure, if we can get the hardware to be used 100% of the time, 24/7, which we can, then it just makes sense to move stuff on-premise again. So I would say we are still at 9 on 10, because except for our testing infrastructure, where it's like a computer which just keeps running all through heavy cooling requirements, those kind of things, we are almost all on the cloud, right? So I think we've seen in this panel itself, we've seen a little bit of a variation between a 6 and a 10, but and of course, Marcel, for some of the businesses which are completely on premise. But I think this is a good setup, because we'll see a lot of variation in our cloud journey and the experience. So the first question that I wanted to pose is, what are the biggest concerns around security that any of us have faced on when you're moving processes or systems or data to the cloud? Are you largely worried about the cloud itself getting compromised, or are you worried about the cloud being exposed to people and they can do whatever they want? Is it the application security of the data, and so on, right? So what are the biggest concerns, right? I know there were specific panelists and we had figured out, but I think Jatin, you had a view on this topic, right?
I'll share my views, so it's like this, Shal, that I think we all understand that the major cloud players, and I don't want to market anybody specifically, but if we talk of somebody like AWS or Microsoft, they are at a level of maturity which is far beyond our individual levels. That's number one. That's my understanding. So if you were to ask me specifically, I would not be overtly concerned with what AWS or Microsoft is doing in terms of their own data protection at their centers wherever they have. So that is not a concern for me. In terms of security, I would say to me it hardly matters whether it is on the premise or on the cloud, because stuff like firewalls, like WAPs and all, we anyway need to implement either here or there, and that's for us to configure. Right? So I would not be overtly bothered whether it is on the premise or on the cloud. If the question is specifically on security, this would be my view.
Got it. So not overtly bothered is what I take away from this.
I do not see a significant difference between my concern being on premise and on the cloud. Biggest difference being, if it is on premise, I and my team will be taking all the hits or the ownership of managing it. And in this case, we are passing on the ownership. So accountability still remains with us, but responsibility we can shift to AWS or Microsoft or somebody else.
Exactly. I think Vishal, if I may, add to what Jatin mentioned, I think we're not worried about the infrastructure piece, right? Infrastructure on cloud, we are presuming that everything is taken care of like we do it in our data center, right? Now, on top of the infrastructure, what we have is applications and data. That's where the concern is more. And if we don't set up those policies and those data controls properly, that's where we are going to get hit. And the responsibility, as Jatin mentioned, lies on the end customer. But if it is an application, right, then that is something that application provider has to give kind of assurance that they're taking care of the data. But mostly what we have seen is it is the end customer like we who have to check if we have enough controls, and we see that there are all parameters and the big umbrella on top of that infrastructure, which is kind of securing our data.
Got it. Okay, so infrastructure security doesn't seem to be a concern, right? From whatever I've heard up till now, but applications and data continue to be an area of concern. Let me just challenge that a little bit. I think Jatin, you mentioned as well as Naseer, you mentioned that infrastructure is not of a concern. Is it just because you think on-premise infrastructure is lesser secure and companies like Microsoft and AWS just have access to better resources? Is that the only thing, or there's something fundamentally different about infrastructure hosting on the cloud?
If I talk about infrastructure alone, infrastructure to me is just the resources that you deploy your application and your data, right? And I personally feel that infrastructure security at cloud level, be it Microsoft, Azure, or any other cloud service provider, have better controls than the data centers what we have. I mean, as we look at their certification processes and the regulations that they follow, but That's where we say, we don't have a problem with the infrastructure per se. But I guess when you put your data on the application, then it's not just your data, but it's also the application which is going to reside, which is going to keep the data, that is secure or not, because that now, creates a couple between data and application.
Okay. Any of the other panelists want to add over here? Different view?
Yeah. So what is the basic fundamental of the cloud is a shared responsibility model. Okay. So whereas the infrastructure and the underlying platform is the responsibility of the cloud service provider, whereas the configuring it in the right manner and using it in the right manner is the responsibility of the consumer who consumes it. Example: if you are say having an application which is running on one server and a single region, then it is your responsibility. If the VM crashes, it is your responsibility. But the service provider says that if you are running it in two different regions, in two different availability zone, then the assured availability will be 7 nines. Okay, so we have the right tools there available to make it secure and run, but it depends on us whether we are leveraging the same there or not. Second thing is, wherever we have the control of the data, like which is into our infra, there we can put controls. But whenever the data moves out of our control, means say aligning with some third-party vendors or some sub-processors of the data, there sometimes we feel more like the helpless kind of place where we don't have any controls or solutions in place to take care of the data there. That becomes mostly the problem.
Got it. Okay. I do want to see, as at Seclore, we have all kinds of relationships with the cloud, right? We are the users of the cloud. We are the providers. We have a lot of our customers using our own services, using our own technology of the cloud. And I think the contrarian view, a little bit from what Jatin, you and Naseer, you had mentioned here, is that the cloud infrastructure providers, Amazons, Microsofts, Oracles of the world, definitely have expertise, a lot more expertise on infrastructure security than what an individual enterprise, that let's say an individual enterprise that all of us work for, can afford to have, right? So it goes without saying. But there are also central repositories that people who want to get access to your data, right? It's a central pot of gold, right? Hackers 20 years ago had to go and hack 20 different organizations, and now they don't. They just have to work. They just have to worry about one, right? So while the expertise level of the bank in managing your money is likely to be more, the risk that you deposit your money and the bank gets looted is also more, right? So the risk and expertise are there. There's always a cops and robbers game in this. The difference between how much risk and what's the central pot of gold, right? I would rather go rob a bank than go rob a house, right? Simply because it just is more valuable. And the cloud infrastructure providers may not be as transparent, but they go through very frequent breaches, right? For every breach that is reported, there are 10 out there which are not, right? So it's a good thing for our sleeping patterns to be assured that, hey, cloud infrastructure is secured. But because we have all kinds of relationships with the cloud, we can tell you that it's only good for the sleeping pattern, right? You can sleep well, and that's good. But we'll move on to the next question here. So talk about a little bit about what kind of measures, whether it's infrastructure security or data security, that your organizations have taken, and it's okay if you don't want to name out individual products. And what do you see as an ideal state on the cloud security front, right? And I'll start with Mayank.
So measures for moving out to a cloud is the major reason is availability of your information. And second, hidden objective is data security, privacy, or anti-theft. All kind of things are available. That's measure. But main important is the availability around the clock. You have it, and if you have own data center, you have to maintain HVAC, you have to maintain dedicated monitoring team. But with the cloud, you are free from that. Only I see the other than that is the adoption, which we ensure whenever we go for a cloud application. How do we ensure the adoption? So that's all from my side.
Mayank, the question was, what kind of measures are you currently taking for securing data going to the cloud, or securing the cloud, right? Whether it's infrastructure or data. So are you putting restrictions on the adoption of the cloud, or talk about your M365 experience. Are you putting restrictions on, for example, what can happen on emails on the cloud or documents on OneDrive or any of these?
Restriction, I say we are more leveraging like OneDrive or Yammer. Now again, Yammer is coming back. So another features of OneDrive or Office 365. So measures, I think we see it measure on the adoption part and as well as the backup part, so that we are safe from the endpoint data theft or data security or data backup that we are putting on M365 on OneDrive.
Got it.
So Vishal, Vishal, if I have to take this, I think, the security has no limit, especially when it comes to data protection, right? Right. So I also mentioned, there's no one solution that is going to cover our data protection, gamut. Right. But having said that, I think we must deploy all the security solutions that we have, and most importantly, I think we should not look at these solutions just as a dashboards. We should be monitoring these solutions properly and consuming it properly, right? Consumption of the security tools are more important than deploying it, right? Especially on the cloud, where you don't know where is your data. So if I have to take an example, you mentioned about the Office 365 protection or what kind of measures we have taken on Office 365. We have implemented almost all features of Office 365, which included Azure ATP, EOP, which is Exchange Online Protection, right? Safe links, safe attachments, right? And enterprise mobility, where we have Intune, which covers your mobile phones. But again, there as I mentioned, there's no one solution for everything, right? If you don't have these solutions, and on your Office 365, if there is a phishing or malware email which is going to hit you, that's going to be a disaster. So the measures what we have taken is what are available on the Office 365, and apart from that, there are other tools, right, which are like DNS security, right, which we call as zero trust solution. But to the data protection, since we know that we are on right now Zoom and Microsoft Teams has become a big tools for our collaboration, right? Because of its centric approach to the collaboration, and people are using it big time. Now saving data is a big challenge. And what we do at Musigma is we have endpoint DLP, right? And I think managing endpoint DLP is a big thing, right? It is sometimes a nightmare if you don't have right policies and procedures applied. So
it's always a nightmare, I can tell you. It's not sometimes, it's always. But continue. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. So that's how these are some of the measures that we have taken to ensure that these data is somehow protected. I always say somehow, because there's no limit to protection and putting solutions. I mean, that's what we do at Musigma.
So Vishal,
just maybe take one last point. this. Maybe I would probably like to segregate it as I think it's a cliche term, data at rest and data in transit, but I think it's got all the more relevant today because the way you would secure the both would be very important. So for data in transit, like we have say VPN again, and it would hold true for an on-premise solution because there where the user is connecting from a home to even an on-premise server or an AWS server, it's absolutely the same thing. So data has to be encrypted. So you have a less of MITM possibilities.
I think we lost him.
Yeah. Just as he was getting to the interesting bit.
And
Raman,
He's back.
okay,
He's back. He's back.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I don't know where you guys lost me. Sorry. So I was trying to differentiate between data in transit and data at rest because the way you would secure them both would be different. Right? When it is in transit, you would want to encrypt it, build a VPN so that you do not have an MITM possibility. And when it is at rest, obviously you want to secure wherever it is storing. So default backup going onto the cloud for certain folders on the cloud storage solution, backup solution, I would put it that way. And again,
I think
the way those applications.
Jatin, we are having trouble. We are having trouble hearing you. You're kind of in and out.
I'll just
do you want to just log in from a different network, perhaps?
So in the interest of time, let me just take a forward. So like example, I'll give you like how do we do the security on the cloud front. Example, like by all the public IPs on the cloud are not exposed to that. We proxy it through the proxy server, and what externally we can see is the different IPs. Okay, so we have proxy in place, then followed by the WAF. Then we have multiple availability zones in which the infrastructure has been configured. So even if one data center, one zone goes down, even the application is running into the second zone. The backups are being done frequently at a predefined frequencies, and the backups are encrypted with the customer derived key. So in case the data is getting compromised as well, it is not able to be decrypted. Versioning is one more important thing, that all the S3 buckets which we have are being versioned, so that in case of any kind of attack, we can go back to the previous version of the document and can retrieve the document. The same thing applies even for the Google Drives kind of thing. The versioning is enabled. We do scanning. We do the API scanning of the Google Drive and find it out how many documents are being shared externally and with whom. And we do the frequent audit of the same, whether that sharing is still required or it is done, not required at this point of time. Apart from this, we have like a cloud security posture tools. We have cloud access security brokers. We have next generation DLPs. We have next generation SIM, XDRs. So you will need a plethora of tools to make the things work together, to make the security posture pretty looks seamless and well. And the need is to have a single visibility of the same. So for that, we need to have a very good SIM in place through which all these next generation tools can send the logs together along with the cloud logs. Say we have whatever happens in the cloud, that log as well will put into the same. And we see any kind of abnormality into the cloud and the remaining tools. And if any kind of attack happens, we can just correlate that the track has what are the indicators of compromise into the system, what are the things affected, and from where the attack actually started. So at this point of time, we're able to reach to this thing, but yeah, miles to go into the security further.
All right. And Marcel, in your situation, you are 0 and 10, both ends of the spectrum, right? You mentioned. How do you look at security of the data or security of cloud? Let's say whether it's data or infrastructure.
For as far as clouds, we use mostly applications which are stored in the cloud. So that portion of it we had sort of solved long ago. Data and transmission, we have 2 levels of encryption, and each client has a specific key. So that's almost 100% taken care of. So where we focused on was the weakest link in the chain, which is the end user. Once the data reaches the end user for processing, and for us, it's more critical because it's medical and medical legal files. So highly confidential information goes to the end users who is now working from home, shared devices, So how do we protect that data? What happens if they download, say, 1,000 samples and then leave the company overnight? How do we, pull back that data? We can't, so that kind of situation where we were in, and I was looking around, trying out a lot of trial versions and stuff like that of different applications on the market, and I found that Seclore, best fit our needs well, because once we went in for the hot folder option, which basically the enterprise manager gets installed on our server, and everyone on the Active Directory as well as external users can also be added. So the policy gets embedded into the file. So once, for example, if an employee leaves the company even without notice, we just remove them from the AD and automatically they don't have access to that data. So that was very critical for us, which Seclore seems to have solved.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate your sponsorship, and this goes back to what I mentioned in the first couple of minutes of this thing, that instead of chasing the data as it goes around, all over the place, including the cloud in an employee device when he's working from home, we found that enterprises or people sleep much better when they know that their data is secure rather than the cloud infrastructure. It doesn't even belong to the enterprise, right? You don't really care about how secure Office 365 is as much as you care about the data that you have on Office 365, right? That's the real asset that you're trying to protect. I know we are kind of a little short on time. Let me just ask one question, and then we'll hand it over to Marcel to run to a little bit of the journey for Rapid Care in their security journey. But what are, and every panelist can choose one. What is the biggest challenge? What is the single biggest challenge when it comes to adopting cloud security, right? Whether it's, and I'll give you an example, and let me answer the question myself. The biggest challenge that Seclore has in securing our own cloud infrastructure is skills, right? Hiring manpower, skills, availability, with the speed at which these technologies are changing, catching up to the technology itself, and then catching up to the security for that technology has been, at least from our perspective, the biggest challenge. Right? We just cannot hire people fast enough who have enough knowledge of this latest and greatest things that are happening on the cloud. Right. So I would say manpower has been our biggest challenge when it comes to cloud security. But Naseer?
Yeah, I think what you said is right. I mean, we also are, going through this challenge of getting skilled resources, especially for, let's say, Office 365, right? Office 365 has so many workloads. And if you again look at now Azure or AWS as a cloud, they have evolved from just resources, then something great, which you can build based on your requirement. And building that infrastructure on cloud is not a big deal, but managing that big cloud infrastructure which you own is a big challenge. And having said that, as I mentioned, the only biggest problem which I see, apart from the skilled resources, having skilled resources who will manage the cloud infrastructure, including the applications, Office 365, right? I think it is, identifying the data, right? It is very difficult to identify the data, first of all. When we have so much of data, right, which got piled in last 15 years since Musigma has, started its business. But we are fortunate enough that we don't keep client data in our environment. So our data remains our data, and we operate within client firewall. within their infrastructure. That is the good thing with us. Not necessary that everybody will have the same pleasure of
that's
just dealing.
Marcel definitely doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah, dealing with only the IP of the organization or the data which is getting created, because the data is getting created at huge pace, and identifying and then categorizing that, right? I think categorizing is still easy, but identifying is a big ask for an organization who has got 15 years of data. Unless and until there's a solution, automated solution which kind of reads each and every text within the document and categorize it based on the business that you are operating, right? It's not necessary that the word secure is really important for Mayank, and it may be important for me. So the policies that run to identify data and then classify those the data sets is a huge challenge. I feel that's the second thing I feel that is a big challenge.
Okay, data
Vishal,
identification, manpower, and skills, right, Mayank?
Yeah, Vishal, I also share my 2 thoughts in that. The biggest challenge I see, sometimes compliance becomes very important, and management and board ask data should be within India. That's one. Secondly, nested same thing. Sometimes heavy files. In my previous organization, we are working on product life cycle and automotive heavy design files. If you keep them in a cloud, so network congestions and uploading and downloading is really a challenge. This point number one. Second, I see automation and integration with other business applications. So few of our load running on Oracle, few are running on SAP, and definitely when we do integration and one of the service failed, so it requires a lot of alerting and monitoring where it got failed, why the integration failed. So that's the challenge. Third, I say sometimes availability of the service and against the pricing. So this I have experience in one of the cloud partner where the services are running or not, we need to monitor it. So if we have a single dashboard, the utilization of the service, these are the service available, then it makes sense. These are the few from my experience. Thank you.
Just very quickly, Jatin, biggest challenge, cloud security.
People, not only IT, all across the business, understanding.
Right.
I think if we have that, I think half of the thing is done there itself. There are loads of other things also, but in the interest of time, I don't want to.
We are in the same boat. Yeah, exactly. Raman, anything outside of what you've heard?
Yes, same. Along with the data which is lying with some third party, like the intellectual property which we give to say a third party for say some kind of manufacturing. The fear is lying that the same data can be used by a competitor using the same third party to make the same component. That remains a worry for us.
Got it. Well, this has been a very interesting panel. I think, at least for me, it was a learning experience to hear all the other panelists talk about their experience. And the high point, the takeaways, at least from my perspective, are that cloud is, as everything in life, it's a double-edged sword, right? It provides comfort, but it takes away some other comfort, right? As does everything else in life. And I think it's kind of becoming an inevitability of some sort, because even if we are not adopting the cloud, and I'm sure Marcel is going to talk about that in a couple of minutes, but even if we are not adopting the cloud will continue to become a concern, because we are still sharing information with these third parties, Raman, that you just mentioned, and they are adopting the cloud. And it's unfortunately your data that might still land up in Google Drive, even though you are not a Google Drive user. So the security of Google Drive might still affect your data, right? Or an individual user might start using some service that you as an enterprise or we as an enterprise are not adopting, right? So I think that's very important to acknowledge, that we might be 0 on the cloud or 10 on the cloud. It doesn't matter. Cloud is still a security concern. right. I will just set up a little bit. Marcel had done an introduction, but Marcel has been working with Rapid Care for the better part of, Marcel, keep me honest, 20 years now. And during this period, he's taken many new initiatives, heavy engineering background, multiple patents to the name. And Marcel is going to take maybe the next 5 minutes or so in running through his journey of adopting a data-centric security solution. Over to you, Marcel. Feel free to use the slide deck if you need, or just talk about it. Marcel, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. So, like I said, basically, we decided to start with the weakest link in the chain, which is the end users working from home. And because we were afraid of, breaches, data getting indexed by Google, people accidentally uploading the files to forums and stuff like that. So we wanted total control over who did what, and when, and we wanted to, the ability to pull back that data. So we didn't want, for example, we didn't want the print privilege we wanted that to be removed. We didn't want the ability to share the files. We wanted that removed. The save as, if they save or copy paste. So the Seclore fit in neatly with our requirements because, it was just tick boxes. You just tick a box and, the print privilege is removed or whatever. And like attrition, employee leaves, how do we pull back literally thousands of files? Because we process a few lakh documents a day and all medical records, medical and legal, sometimes about up to 5 lakh pages a day. And every one of those pages has to be literally read by the employees, summarized, transcribed, audio files. We use multiple formats, audio, text, notepad, docx, PDF, Excel. So since the users at home download the files, from our server, and all the files have the policy embedded into them, we have 100% control over that. So if, for example, if a user leaves, we just remove them from the AD and, that data becomes, not valuable, cannot even be read. So that's where, Seclore really helped us, and it's taking care of a lot of our headaches because clients kept asking us, now with work from home culture, how are you protecting our data? So we just, couldn't give them just verbal assurances. We had to show them proof. See, this is the admin panel which we use. These are the options. We had to show them an actual demo. Only users who have a login can, open up the file. So clients just, and since we cater for the US market exclusively, they are absolutely paranoid about data security and, HIPAA compliance. And we are an ISO certified company. So it's all the more critical. And healthcare market is a very, very dicey market, very hard to get into and very easy to get thrown out of. So we handle huge hospital setups there. So I think Seclore really took care of a lot of my headaches, and I'm able to sleep peacefully now. I mean, I'm not sort of this is not a paid endorsement. This is an actual user experience. So I think that's yeah.
Thanks a lot, Marcel, for your sponsorship. Really appreciate that. Did you evaluate other technologies? What stood out in your evaluation as far as Seclore? I know I'm trying to get you to praise the company that I work for, but hey.
No, not exactly. Like we did look at even a local setup, Manage Engine from Zoho, Time Doctor, but Time Doctor, we had to sort of walk a fine line. Where do we breach the end user's privacy? But we wanted to protect the company data. So if you look at something like Time Docker, where you have total access to the user system, in some cases it's their own devices, in some cases it's the company device. So we had to walk a fine line. We didn't want to invade the user's privacy, but at the same time, our control, we needed 100% control over the company's data. So this is where we found that, a Seclore fit in nicely because by embedding the policy into the files, we have 100% control. So that was the USP of Seclore, which catered to our requirements.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Marcel. Really appreciate your sponsorship. It's a pleasure to have Rapid Care as our customer. I think there were a couple of questions. I know we started a couple of minutes late, so we have another 3 or 4 minutes. Ankita, we have a quiz also, right?
Yes,
with
Vishal, we
some,
have. Vidisha, you
yeah.
are ready with the Kahoot quiz?
Oh, Vidisha.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Meanwhile, while you are getting prepared for the Kahoot quiz, I would request everybody to please install the Kahoot app or open it on the website of Kahoot. I would request, a couple of questions have come and some of them are really interesting ones. And guys, thanks for sending it to me over WhatsApp, but actually the better idea was if it was sent over the chat here. I'm putting 1 or 2 questions here because I think we definitely don't want to be late for the people. Somebody said,
actually, I can read the question. I see them on the chat.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Whichever you want to pick up, Vishal.
I'll just go in sequence while this quiz is being set up. So the first one is, can Seclore protect my other SaaS data other than Office 365? A short answer is yes. Seclore's offering is not dependent on what infrastructure you use. The security is embedded into the data itself. And then it doesn't matter whether you are sharing over WhatsApp or you are sharing over OneDrive or by email or you are couriering a USB drive across, it doesn't matter. Right, that's one. The second one, all of these seem to be Seclore related, but I'll just take these questions. Seclore is protecting data of the Indian Navy and Air Force, which is very restrictive. Will I get the same offering if I deploy Seclore, or is it a different solution for government versus enterprise? So it is, Seclore has only one solution. It is the same thing that is deployed across. The kind of controls, for example, that are available, you might want to configure these controls differently. I'll give you an example. In the case of some of these defense and investigative agencies, their configuration is such that as soon as a document is created, it gets protected right there. So you cannot, even if you are creating a document which is about sending an invitation out for the CIO Klub event like this one, it will get protected to start with. Whereas enterprises typically take a slightly more, nuanced approach where they only want to secure information which they identify as confidential. Either a system like a DLP system identifies or a user identifies it. So there are different controls, but it's one product, right? So we believe the security of enterprises is now big enough business that it should be at par with national security. How do you make sure that Seclore itself is protected? Take, for example, Kaseya, which had the keys of the kingdom, and many enterprises got breached. That's where this is something where we've taken a very different approach. So if an enterprise, for example, Rapid Care or any of the enterprises uses Seclore, the information never reaches our system. Right? So if you're protecting a document or an email or a folder or whatever it is that you're protecting using Seclore, the actual email or the actual document doesn't reach anything that Seclore has. It doesn't reach the Seclore cloud service in case the system is being used off the cloud. Even if it is deployed on premise, the actual document or email never reaches Seclore. So if the Seclore system on the cloud or on premise were to be completely compromised, it won't mean anything because the actual information is not within the system, right? So Kaseya kind of breaches, and as well as other, most of the breaches nowadays that happen are with third parties, right? Third party breaches will not affect you as an enterprise because the keys to the kingdom are with you and not where the information is, right? And the information can be on the cloud in this example. I have a couple of more questions that have come. If cloud data center providers understand the security landscape better, then why is there still a stress with CIO and board in keeping the data on the cloud? I will defer this one to the panel. Why are you still worried if cloud infrastructure is secure and it is so secure? Why are you still worried? or are you worried? Is the question.
I told you, right,
Any of the
Vishal, it is
panel
about the
members?
people. It's about the people, not only the IT team, but the people at large, top to bottom. For them, whatever they don't know is a thing of concern. So since they don't know, it is a concern. And that's the way I look at it. And good thing, in fact, I should not say this because in my case, my CEO and CFO, they're like, okay, we can go on to the cloud because now they have the maturity. But when initially, maybe 2 years back, it was a different thing. Okay, data is going on to the cloud, will it be secure and all? But now when a lot of talk is happening around this, I think it's, that's why I say it's about people, top to bottom, all across. The understanding, maturity and goes up, the adoption goes up, the overall security goes up.
Well said, Jatin. Thanks a lot. All right, I think there are a couple of more questions, but I found a lot of overlap between the ones that we've already answered and the other ones. Are we all set up, Vidisha?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it.
Guys, either please install Kahoot app or please go to kahoot.it URL. Best would be if you can change your name as your mobile number so that it is unique and we are able to identify you. Vidisha will announce it later. Whoever is using the name as VVK, may I please request to rename it? Sandeep sir. Okay, I know, Bataya, your name is unique, but that's not fair. Okay, Vidisha, I think we are good to roll. I'm going to win it all. Vijay, you must be trying in the fastest finger first. You're pretty good.
That's a good system.
Everything on cloud.
Yeah. As long as the prize money is not on the cloud, right? It comes. I need physical cash coming in. All right. I think does somebody from the CIO Club want to wrap the session up? I guess.
I think we have couple of lucky draws. And
Oh,
Manish
acha,
bhai,
okay, sorry.
you are there, Manish bhai? I'm not sure. Vidisha, can you give Manish rights? If I am not sure.
Yes, sir, just given.
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. Manish bhai, over to you for the lucky draw and the closing.
Right. Somebody try to give me access to the lucky draw. 1 second. Okay.
Guys, you have to call out if your name pops up here as the winner. You please have to immediately acknowledge it. Otherwise, we will move to the next.
Can we start?
Yes, we can. I don't have access. Yes. Oh, wow. Nitin Gaur.
Yay.
Right. And now next name. Karthikeyan. Karthikeyan S. Very good. Congratulations. You are the second winner.
Congratulations.
I'm trying to see how I can get it to stop at my name. Arun Padmanabhan. Vivek bhai, just a miss.
Little more friction on the wheel would have done it for Vivek.
Yeah, he just missed it. Vijay Gurumurthy. Congratulations. Oh yes, you need to be there and you need to say yes. Right, next name. S. Vikant. Congratulations. Okay. Ajay Pakshi. No. Vijay Krishna Iyengar. Lucky you. Congratulations.
So we are done with the lucky draw.
Okay, congratulations all. So as we take this transition to the cloud ahead, it is fundamental that security goes intrinsically hand in hand And for many organizations, one of the initial steps to the cloud journey is with Office 365. It is quite imperative that this critical data is secured. Thank you, Vishal, for setting the context and effectively moderating the panel. I am sure the CIOs have gotten insight into the need of securing Office 365 data and how Seclore can help manage this piece of the cloud jigsaw. As usual, it's an honor and privilege to hear the views from our CIO Klub peers and Raman, Jatin, Mayank, Naseer, and Marcel. Thank you all for your insights from a personal and an organizational point of view. A big shout out to all the CIOs who made it to this technology session on a festive Friday afternoon, and congratulations to the winners of the Amazon vouchers. Thank you all, and a very happy Varmahalakshmi to all of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.